In your opinion, after each gamble in Las Vegas, who is the real loser? Not the ones pulling out their wallets at glittering casino tables, but rather those who have to bet their entire lives on the streets. They had no chips to bet, no chance to win back. Only time, youth, and sometimes even dignity were traded in a game they never chose to play. 41.7 million visitors still flock to Las Vegas each year to rediscover the dazzling light from billboard signs promising endless luxury dreams. But many of them now only see dilapidated tents along the strip, quiet neighborhoods desolate as if abandoned by time. Las Vegas is telling a different story, a sad story about America slowly losing its soul. In today's video, we'll delve into the true sinful nights of Las Vegas, not the ones filled with gambling and champagne, but the ones where the homeless are taking back every inch of the strip. It's no longer a game for gamblers, but a desperate struggle for survival between a city on the brink of collapse. If you step into Las Vegas in 2025, you'll realize that gambling in Las Vegas is no longer confined to casinos. Now, that bet is entering a completely new phase. Just like the homeless invasion in Las Vegas is no longer confined to scorching sidewalks or dark underground tunnels. It has begun to infiltrate even the interiors of casinos, once the most solid symbol of the American dream of prosperity. Las Vegas, the paradise in the desert, was once a place where the lights never went out, a dream destination for millions of Americans each year. But beneath the giant ever-flashing billboards, another reality is spreading. Rows of makeshift tents, built from scraps of fabric and wooden pallets, stretching right along the strip, in the heart of America's most luxurious tourist destination. In 115-degree Fahrenheit heat, hundreds of homeless people are huddled together just a few steps away from million-dollar roulette tables, trying to survive. According to the Southern Nevada Homeless Continuum of Care, as of early 2025, nearly 8,000 homeless individuals were recorded in Clark County, and the actual number could be much higher if those living in abandoned vehicles, underground culverts, or under overpasses are included. These aren't strangers drifting to Vegas. They were once an integral part of this city's tourism engine. A single mother who cleaned hotel rooms, a shuttle bus driver who took guests from the airport to the city centre, or a veteran who once believed the country would not abandon them. In a city with up to 150,000 hotel rooms, it's bitter that thousands of people can't find a safe place to rest. What's more remarkable, homelessness is no longer limited to the downtown area, but has spread throughout the entire Las Vegas Strip, with an increase of up to 56% in just 3 years, a figure that many tourism managers admit is difficult to control. On platforms like TripAdvisor and Yelp, a multitude of reviews from travelers reflect unsafe experiences. Verbal harassment, witnessing shouting at night, or having to spend the night in a hotel next to a room where someone was behaving erratically for hours on end. Some people describe themselves as unable to enjoy their vacation because the chaotic and out-of-control atmosphere surrounding the Las Vegas Strip made their travel experience worse than ever. Even large hotels like the Flamingo or Luxor couldn't stay out of it. They increased the night security budget and warned tourists not to walk after 10 p.m. Some restaurant and souvenir shop owners spoke out. Customers aren't stopping anymore. They saw that sight and left immediately. My revenue has decreased by more than half since the camp was built. If this situation continues, I could become one of them in the future. The homelessness crisis is spiraling further out of control. A problem left unresolved for decades has created a never-ending cycle of despair. As the number of homeless grows, tourism declines, weakening the local economy and leading to even more job losses and evictions. It's no longer just a cycle of crisis. It's a downward spiral, draining the last light from a city once thought to be immortal. If Las Vegas, which once represented the strong resilience of the American economy, is also facing a chain of collapses, then what awaits other cities? And how long will we stand by and watch? Las Vegas was once beloved not only for its extravagance, but also for a very special feeling. A place where ordinary people could live like the upper class, at least for one night. A city that allows you to dream without being wealthy. But over time, that feeling is fading. It's not that Vegas is changing quickly, it's that the way it's changing is quietly eroding the very values that once made people love this place. The casinos, once the beating heart of the city, now resemble a cold, impersonal machine. Blackjack, craps, and roulette tables, where players face off against chance on a level playing field, are gradually being pushed into the shadows. Instead, hundreds of modern slot machines sprang up, dominating the space. No dealer needed, no supervisor, no salary or insurance required. All it takes is flashing lights, inviting sounds, and a carefully programmed design to keep you there as long as possible. And the irony is, players rarely realize they've lost until their wallets are empty. The house edge is getting higher and higher. Modern slot machines are designed to give you small wins to make you lose big, creating the feeling that you are close to winning rather than losing. For older people, those who once considered Vegas a safe haven for entertainment, the feeling of being invisibly controlled is starting to make them cautious about every coin they put into the machines. Even seemingly unchanging experiences no longer remain the same. A traditional game of blackjack used to pay out at a rate of 3-2. A zero bet would win 5. Now, many casinos are switching to a 6-5 payout ratio, meaning you only receive 2, a seemingly small adjustment, but over the long term, it adds up to a significant loss. And sadly, most tourists aren't warned about that until they're left empty-handed. Most notably, casinos, which were once considered exclusive to tourists and those with financial means, have now become a last resort for those with nowhere else to go. Some homeless people walk straight into the casino space, which was once considered a forbidden zone for them. A slot machine player recounted, "I was playing when a stranger came up and asked for money right in the middle of the casino." And this, sadly, is no longer an exception. A recent incident that caused a stir was a small explosion at the Paris casino, which caused approximately $50,000 in damage. The perpetrator was a homeless individual, and while the incident is considered isolated, many tourists admit that their underlying concern about their safety is growing. The feeling of resort that Vegas once represented is now more faded than ever. Rage gradually replaced regret. No noise, no protests, just silently, in the form of former regulars who no longer return. Middle-class families who are savers, who once saw Vegas as an affordable vacation, are now recalculating every cost. Room surcharges, unfair win rates, the feeling of being legally fleeced. And finally, they chose to go elsewhere, spending their hard-earned money on a more deserving place. What will happen if even the most loyal people start to leave? When Las Vegas is no longer the city for everyone, but a place only for those willing to pay the price, both with their wallets and their trust? Change is inevitable. But if that change causes a city to lose its soul, what's left? Are we still playing a game? Or are we just people caught in a downward spiral, programmed to never stop? Las Vegas used to be a place where for just a few dozen dollars, you could spend a whole day surrounded by lights, music, buffets, and the feeling of living large, even if only temporarily. That's why millions of middle-class Americans choose this place as a stopover, not just for the neon lights, but because they can find a little bit of luxury within their means. However, the Vegas of 2025 is no longer a paradise for workers. The restaurant chain once famous for its $4.99 or $6.99 items has quietly closed. Ocean One Bar and Grill, the symbol of affordable dining, is now just a memory. Instead, there were bills that left many people stunned. $10 for a bottle of water, $43 for a burger, and a $55 resort fee, even though no services were used. You book a room at the listed price of $99, but when you check out of the hotel, the actual bill could be as high as $175 after adding all sorts of hidden fees. The problem isn't just about the numbers, but it's the feeling of being left out, when a place that once welcomed everyone now seems to be open only to those with means. Some seniors who have been visiting Vegas annually for years are choosing to stay home or seek out smaller cities where they feel less like they are being turned into a profit source. Surcharges without real value, mandatory services that no one requested, and marketing tricks that prey on the cheap but not really cheap mentality have caused many people to lose faith. Some large hotels even charge a airline ticket printing fee or a post-pandemic service recovery fee. Phrases that sound reasonable but are actually just a way to discreetly increase prices. If a city is built on trust, that just $20 is enough for a few hours of fun, and now demands you pay 5 or 10 times that price for the same experience. Is it still Vegas? Is this the inevitable path to survival? Or is it a departure from the very identity that once made Vegas an icon of popular America? Las Vegas is not short of money. Revenue from tourism, casinos, and conferences still amounts to tens of billions of dollars each year. But in a place where almost everything has a price, from park benches to bottled water, what's becoming increasingly scarce is direction in policy. The city continues to open more casinos, build more hotels, and host lavish events. But at the same time, the welfare system, already fragile, is gradually collapsing. Homeless shelters are overcrowded. Non-profit organizations have to cut meals and close early due to lack of funds. Meanwhile, affordable housing programs have remained almost stagnant because planning prioritizes entertainment zones, food streets, and high-end shopping areas. Many hotel employees who had paid taxes to the city for decades when they lost their jobs had to sleep in their cars in the parking lot of their former hotel. A heartbreaking paradox, yet not at all uncommon. Such stories are now appearing more and more frequently, and the authorities seem powerless to find a solution. Some people believe this is the inevitable consequence of the city developing in a market-driven direction, where financial efficiency is placed above all social values. But if the system only works well when people are working and paying taxes, then those who fall out of the loop, even temporarily, have almost no place. Can a city be considered successful if it abandons even those who once served it when they can no longer afford to live there? Las Vegas was once a symbol of American optimism, a place where everyone had the chance to start over. But as the support system crumbled piece by piece, as the city prioritized only luxury travel experiences while neglecting basic survival needs, even the most steadfast began to wonder, is this still a community? Or just a stage where those who can't afford a ticket are forced to leave in silence? No one thought a trade war in Washington or a supply chain crisis from Asia could cause rental prices in Las Vegas to skyrocket. But that's exactly what happened. In less than 4 years, the cost of living in Las Vegas has soared nearly 24%, with the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment exceeding $1,500 per month. For those who used to earn $5 to $20 an hour in the service industry, this is equivalent to over 50% of their monthly income being consumed just to have a roof over their heads. The shortage of affordable housing in Nevada is not a new issue, but the biased investment policy, focusing on high-end real estate, 5-star hotels, and expensive tourism projects, only made things worse. Meanwhile, federal housing assistance packages have barely kept pace with actual price increases. And every time the federal government cuts funding for housing or social service programs, Las Vegas, which is heavily reliant on service labor, sees another group of people pushed to the brink. Not only that, but changes in immigration policy, increased healthcare costs, and reduced unemployment benefits after the pandemic also contributed to a vicious cycle. Those who once lived stably in a small apartment in North Vegas, after just a few consecutive shocks, job loss, illness, missing a payment, now have to move out and live in their cars or seek short-term shelter at overcrowded homeless shelters. At the international level, fluctuations in shipping costs, import food prices, and construction materials also indirectly affect the cost of living in Vegas, a city that is inherently not self-sufficient. When eggs went up in price, when gas hit $6 a gallon, the people here no longer just felt hardship, they felt trapped. While casino corporations continue to report quarterly profits, those who once served at tables, swept floors, and cooked no longer have enough money to rent a room with a window. If the people who keep it running every day can't live here, then perhaps what needs to change isn't them, but the model we're still trying to cling to. Las Vegas was once a dream destination, where every road led to the dazzling lights of the Strip. But today, those paths lead many people to disappointment. The sight of homeless people huddled right in front of hotel doors, groups of people shouting and wandering outside casinos, or tents pitched right at the edge of the road has become so familiar that many first-time visitors immediately want to book a return ticket. The truth is, quite a few people have decided to withdraw. According to statistics from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, hotel occupancy rates in the Vegas Strip area have decreased by 6.5% over the past year. Meanwhile, peripheral areas, where tourists feel safer, a slight increase. Reviews on TripAdvisor and Yelp are increasingly cautionary rather than complimentary. The word happy lively has changed to noisy, chaotic, and full of strangers and danger. A couple from Ohio wrote, "We've been to Vegas 5 times, but this time we didn't dare to take our child for an evening walk. Homeless people are everywhere, and the atmosphere is very tense. We will never come back again." This reality is challenging. The old belief that Vegas always bounces back. Perhaps what once kept tourists coming back wasn't just the lights and slot machines, but the feeling of being welcomed, of living a little dream for a few days. And when that dream becomes tired, chaotic, and loses its order, the thing that keeps them there also gradually disappears. If a city that once represented joy, freedom, and easily attainable dreams now becomes a place that makes people where they quietly pass by, then would it still be Las Vegas? Perhaps Las Vegas never truly turns off its lights. But that light, which once brought joy, excitement, and a sense of living large, now seems only to highlight the contrast between rich and poor, between tourists and the residents left behind. Regeneration doesn't mean building more hotels. Recovery isn't just about promotional campaigns or room discounts. If Las Vegas truly wants to come back to life, not just in revenue reports, but in people's hearts, what needs to be restored isn't the gaming tables or the buffet spreads, but the feeling of belonging. It's a city where anyone, whether a middle-aged couple from Iowa or a single mother who used to be a waitress, feels they belong, are valued, and can enjoy something kind without sacrificing both safety and self-respect. Rays of hope still glimmer. Some non-profit organizations are gradually creating a network of sustainable housing support. Some small businesses are starting to return to the Vegas for everyone model, where you can still eat well, stay comfortably, and feel respected. But those efforts won't be enough if the rest of the system continues to operate like a heartless machine, only measuring human value through payment bills. Vegas can survive, but only if it remembers why it was once loved. It's not because of the light, but because it used to be a place where you didn't need to be perfect. You didn't need to be rich, and you could still find joy. And if that neon light could illuminate that again, then perhaps Vegas still has a chance. Will Las Vegas dare to dream again? Not just for tourists, but for the very people who live and are forgotten under those lights. Las Vegas might just be the starting point, but it's not the only one. Because what's happening in this city is reflecting a broader spiral, a chain of consequences that many major cities across the United States are falling into one by one. The model Vegas operates on, heavily reliant on tourism spending, real estate investment, and the confidence of the middle class, was once considered a recipe for success. But as prices soared, trust eroded, and residents were marginalized, that model began to collapse from within. That's what led people to start calling it a doom loop, a vicious cycle of rising costs, declining quality of life, and people fleeing. In Vegas, the start of the spiral could be a $55 resort fee and a $0 bottle of water. But for a family from rural Missouri, it was a sign that the trip was no longer worthwhile. As the number of budget tourists decreased, revenue for mid-range restaurants and hotels plummeted. Many establishments closed, leading to a wave of layoffs for unskilled workers, who are the backbone of the local population. People who lost their jobs no longer had enough money to pay rent. The number of homeless people increased, and the city began to become unpleasant in the eyes of high-end tourists. That's when the cycle starts the next loop. And that spiral doesn't just happen in Vegas. From San Francisco to Portland, from Chicago to Miami, similar signs are gradually emerging. Unaffordable housing, weak public services, rising crime, population exodus, and budget deficits. When people no longer see a reason to stay, both economically and emotionally, the next thing that happens is a collapse of trust. And when trust is lost, no GDP figures or media campaigns can save the soul of a city. What's even more concerning is that the ripple effect from a city like Las Vegas could spread much further than most people imagine. A Vegas without tourists doesn't just affect casinos and hotels. It affects California farmers who grow vegetables for buffets, Texas truck drivers who haul goods, hundreds of printing companies, suppliers, sanitation companies, and technicians, an entire interwoven supply chain. When one link breaks, the whole system shakes. The question isn't just where Las Vegas is headed, and if even Vegas, with its dazzling lights and global reputation, can fall into a self-destructive spiral. How many other cities in this country are on the same path? But no one is willing to face the truth. Perhaps the most regrettable thing isn't the fading lights or a few empty hotels, but rather, it's the feeling that something that once symbolized vibrancy, dreams, and the sleeplessness of America has now become a symbol of quiet fracture. Las Vegas is not just a place to play. For millions of people, it was once a memory of family gatherings, weekend dates, and their younger years. Nay, upon returning, many no longer recognize the place that was once deeply imprinted in their hearts. No one wants a city to live forever in the past. But if the future of Vegas is tense under neon signs, tourists avoiding the Strip, and local residents being pushed to the fringes because they can't afford rent, then perhaps we need to take a step back and ask, what have we let happen to this city? Vegas can recover, just as it did after the 2008 crisis. But this time, perhaps the solution doesn't lie in another new resort or a flashy marketing campaign. But it's a true restoration of humanity, of trust, of kindness towards those who are being left on the fringes of light. Have you ever been to Las Vegas? Has your perception changed after what's been happening? And if this city ever brought you joy, do you think it deserves a second chance? Please leave your story in the comments section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to tell stories that not everyone is willing to listen to. But everyone needs to know. Each share is an opportunity to add one more person who understands, one more person who cares, and one more ray of hope for those whose lives are lived in silence. This video is not intended to condemn any organization, individual, or political group. All information presented is based on publicly available data, official reports, and field observations from multiple perspectives. The stories, images, and perspectives presented are educational in nature, reflecting social realities to stimulate constructive discussion without creating incitement, panic, or stereotyping. We do not condone any illegal behavior whatsoever. We do not normalize suffering, and we do not turn human misery into entertainment. This is not a conclusion, but an invitation to reflect together, to dialogue together, and to hold on to the remaining humanity within each of us.